Well, there are different ways that we can be abused as a child, emotionally growing up. We could be neglected by our parents. It could start very early, like even when we're in the crib. We could lie there and cry for a long time before our diapers are changed or we're given a bottle or the breast to feed on. And so then there's that neglect. And then, of course, once we're up and about, a parent could be criticizing us for whatever we do or demanding that we do it differently. And not feeling loved and cared for, but just being told what we did wrong all the time. And that gives a lot of abuse to us and doesn't help us develop feelings of confidence and worthiness in ourselves. And then we can be treated differently by other caretakers, or even by a teacher in school, for example, or somebody else in the neighborhood. And if we have those experiences where we were abused by somebody, or put down, or judged, or rejected, or abandoned, all of those kind of things, that's a part of our program that we just take in and embed it and make it a part of our personalities. And then we'll even see things that way as a result of that programming, even if it's not there. We'll see abuse or neglect when it's not there because it got programmed in so deeply that we see through eyes of the past. And so that kind of abuse, we need to find that we can work these out. We can use various forms of therapy to help us get rid of that abuse. And so we can begin to see the world in a way that helps us attract positive responses and be that in the world ourselves and with ourselves. As an adult, we can have various kind of experiences that are very hurtful to us. We could have a teacher that's always criticizing us or judging us even as we got older in high school. We could have somebody we go to work with and our job is always just telling us what's wrong and telling what I did wrong and thinking they're helping. But instead, all they're doing is making me feel bad and to disown my own power and so on. And then, of course, there can be abuse from people in a situation somewhere that we could have where we just don't feel loved. We might have married someone that's abusive toward us and neglectful or not affectionate or not kind, not loving. And so all of those kind of things can be cumulative. And as they mount up and build, that we experience them even more and we'll attract them even more. And so those are works that we need to do to clear those kind of things out and to change that programming so we can enjoy our lives with a lot more fulfillment and emotional engagement with people that's meaningful. Well, in my more recent book, Your Power to Heal, what I've discovered is that our illnesses are not created by something outside us most of the time, but more my interpretation and meaning of something outside happening to me. And my healing is changing my own mind about how I view these, and I reduce the stress. And when I reduce the stress, I bring healing. So, for example, back years ago, I was had such a severely degenerated disc in my back that the doctor said I wouldn't walk again without back surgery. And so then I researched it and found out in those days, 68% of the time you were worse off after back surgery. It's much better now. But I thought, well, I don't want to risk that. I can't even move a centimeter in the bed now without being excruciating pain. And then I woke up and realized, wait a minute. I stopped getting sore throats and colds years ago when I discovered if I got to what emotion I was feeling or what I was disturbed by or what I was missing out on or upset about, and I dealt with it differently, then my cold symptoms would just go away. And I stopped getting sore throats and colds, which I used to get several times every year. And I haven't had one in many decades now as a result, because I came up and found some different ways of dealing with those emotions. And when I found a different way of dealing with them, I didn't need the symptom anymore. The same thing happened. I woke up with my back when I found out I'd be worse off after surgery. The chances were that in those days. Then I started exploring it, and I found about 4 or 5 things I needed to do in my life that'd be healthier. Different ways of living, different ways of thinking and being and believing and reacting. And I made a firm commitment of what I would change in these different ways. And I made that firm commitment that I knew I would keep. I wasn't just saying it, but I knew I would keep my word with myself. When I did that, within 3 days I was back at work. And about 3 months later I went for an annual physical with my doctor. He wanted to take a chest x-ray. We haven't seen that in years. And I said, well, I know my lungs are fine. He says, yeah, I don't want the radiation. He said, well, we got new equipment. It's a lot less. He talked me into it. And I'm now glad he did, because he came back saying, Henry, your lungs are fine. I thought I knew that, but I'm glad to have the verification. But he started to stammer. He said, but that disc of yours. I got scared. And I said, what? He said, it's not supposed to happen. I said, what? He said, it's totally restored. That's not supposed to happen. And I thought, wow, I'm glad I let him take that x-ray, because I'm glad to have that confirmation that my disc that was severely degenerated is restored now. Why? Because I found several things in my life that I needed to change that would be healthier for me. Ways of thinking, feeling, doing, and practices, and so on. Well, if I've been abused as a child, and I do some of these procedures that can deactivate the trauma of those abuse, that means it's not encoded in my brain anymore. It's not creating stress. And when it's creating stress, then that creates illnesses. But I find if we can deal with these things in a more positive way, then I don't have to get sick physically. I don't have to be disturbed emotionally. And I found that literally there are these new approaches that we can use to stay healthy both emotionally and physically and make our lives much happier. Certainly if you'd like to learn more about these methods or these tools or the combinations of them and how they work, I'll be glad to talk with you about it. You could contact me by phone or by email, or you could call me and we can make an appointment or two and we could discuss it more in relation to your area, your issues, your problem areas, and what would be effective for you to do together. So I'd be happy to explore those things with you. I have people who want to come in person can see me in New York City or in Westport, Connecticut. Others may prefer to have session by Zoom or telephone or FaceTime or things like that. So that's possible too, especially during this coronavirus situation. So whatever works for you is I'm open to explore with you. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have about what this therapy is like.